People aren't saying no because they don't want what you have to offer. They're saying no because they don't trust the path. They don't trust you enough yet. But the great news is that's very fixable. And today we're going to talk about that. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I'm a third generation minister, international best-selling author of 40 books and counting. I've had the wonderful privilege over the course of the last nearly 40 years to work with so many wonderful people, multi-billionaires, brand new startup companies, stay-at-home moms, doctors, lawyers, nurses, veterans, and with the over 5,000 people that I've helped in the nearly 20 years now that we've been helping authors and people in book space, I can tell you clearly that there is a system that works and that most of the system you're being sold is broken. It's based in half-truths, falsehoods, or, and I hate to say it, but sometimes just straight up right out lies. Okay, now if you have several thousand really actively subscribed people and you start something new. Okay, so you have, like my good friend Willie J. Willie J has an Instagram following of 180,000-ish people. Okay, he could decide to completely pivot out of the music industry and into something else, and would probably find himself having massive early on even success with that. Now, I'm going to warn you, if you go too far afield from what you built those people from, you can very quickly, lose all of those people too. Okay. So I'm not saying just build this, group and then they will come. I am saying though, that you have a lot of people that are telling you things that are based off of the fact that they had massive amounts of success because they already had that trust. They already had that following. And so what happens? We're a brand new company. We're a startup. We're new. It's our first book, those kind of things. We put it out there. Because like I'm always telling you, bestseller is a day one launch strategy. Your book hits bestseller, you're like, yes, I'm a best-selling author. Yay. I still get psyched every time I have a book go up. And I still have those same doubts and questions. What if I didn't do it right? Blah, 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 all those kind of things. Self-doubt is real, okay? But then there's that moment when it hits. Now, the thing about it, I just had a conversation with one of our authors yesterday, John. John has an amazingly great book that is talking about how unbroken you really are and how really actually ready for the world you really are. In fact, because I'm bringing up John's book, I'm going to pivot mildly here just for a second, and I'm going to actually look up the name of John's book because it's worth saying it. John Bowerman, the book is called You're Not Lost, You're Just Starting. I love that book too because it's really what we're talking about today. You see, if you're in that beginning phase and you're at that start phase, if you don't have that know, that like, that trust, that group of followers that absolutely are ready and hoping and begging for your next thing, then you have to build that first. And you have a whole lot of people who already have that massive following. They built a 30, 40, $50 million company and then they sold that. Okay. Or they built a company that was $2 million a year and they sold it for 20 or $30 million. And then they went on to their next thing. Well, guess what? They already built the name. Okay. I know a particular person, I'm not going to call people by names, but I know a particular person who built don't quote me on this, but $30-ish million company. And literally got into legal trouble and ended up having to close down that company because of some of the legal issues. And I know people that absolutely, because he pivoted, went on to the next thing, had massive success with that. And he's now on to actually the thing beyond that thing, really. It's not a next thing. It's kind of like the next iteration of the next thing he went on to. But all of the people, there was a group of people that absolutely loved him. And when he was ready for his next thing, he, let people know it. And people were like, yeah, let's do it. Okay. I know a particular individual, thinking of another person that just came to my mind, who launched a brand new startup company and just put out a social media post asking, kind of like you would do on, one of the crowdfunding sites. Did it just on his own social media and said, if I started a company like XYZ, would you be interested in investing? Well, I happen to know because I was at an event that he put on, that he raised in that first round, if you will, of investors, he raised $2 million from one post. Okay, that's because he had the following. And he had the following of people because I also happen to know that the minimum investment at that point was $100,000. So he had, that would be he knew 20 people out of his whole following that could drop $100,000 right then. And they did. Okay. And I know he's raised other money since then, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But what I'm saying is, if you're at that beginning startup stage, if you're at the beginning of your journey and you're getting advice from somebody who has the capability, I know a great marketing team. They're called Bad Marketing. I mean, that's the name of their company. I think it's hilarious. They are actually really a wonderful, great marketers. But I can also tell you the low end to start with them is $6,000 a month. That's their fee for overseeing your Facebook ads, mostly Facebook. I mean, they do some YouTube and other things too, but mostly Facebook ads. $6,000 is their fee. Now they create the videos for you. They're going to, have you do some shooting and stuff too, but they're going to do all the post-production, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they're totally worth it. But they also, hello, soccer, glad to have you here with us. But they're also going to have you commit to spending a minimum of $5,000 a month on ad spend. Okay, so if you have $11,000 a month, and you got to commit to, I think it's like a 3-month minimum that you have to commit to. So if you have 35, I just rounded up, $35,000, then sure, you can bring in a company like that. And I could name 10 or 20 others that are in that same field, and probably, build a 6-figure, probably build a 7-figure company really quick, like in the first 3 to 6, 9 months, because you've got the money to be able to do it. You see, everything is time versus money. You either have the money that you can pay somebody who already spent the time, or you've got to spend the time to learn to do the things that you would have to then pay somebody else to do. So you can, and AI has helped us a lot, sort of, okay? Because you can put a prompt into Gemini or Sora or, one of about 20 others that I can think of right off the top of my head. And you can generate some really good videos, especially video clips and shorts. I know a person who is using that same kind of a concept and is building an entire movie studio that's going to do the filming of all of the stuff. At the most, they will green screen the actors. But they're going to do all of the backgrounds, all of the everything. They're going to do it all via AI. Now, I can also tell you that each one of those AI prompts is going to generate, let's just be generous and say 10 seconds. It's about 8 to 10 seconds. Okay, so if you think about 10 seconds, just because it's easier math for me, that means it's 6 a minute. Okay, so that means for 60 minutes, you've got 360 of those. That's only a 1-hour video. Most movies are, let's just call it 2 hours, 720 of those clips you got to do. Okay, so that's a commitment. First you got to break down the whole entire script into 720 little, clip descriptions. Then you got to go through them, and then you got to tweak them. And even with that, you're only going to have AI get you about 80% of the way. You still need humans, the last 20%, to clean things up, to fix it, to look at, to go review it, to put it all together, to stitch it together, all of those kind of things. And then you're still going to have to market it. I can tell you that, when you start talking about wide distribution, meaning in theaters, you're looking at several $1 million. If you're talking about wide distribution on streaming media, Prime or things like that, you're going to need a couple $100,000. If you're talking about doing it via YouTube or any of the other, quote unquote free places, you could technically do that for free, but then you also have to have a marketing budget. One way or another, you got to get butts in seats. You got to get faces in front of the screen. Those all take money, or they take your time. Everything is time versus money. And we've been sold this lie that you can do the same thing as the people who are spending 10, 15, 20, $100,000 a month, or that have a whole crew of people that are, they're being paid full time to generate those for them. And here we are as a startup and we're trying to compete. And we're like, yeah, but if you just use AI, well, yeah. Okay, I know a particular person that's teaching a class right now, and it's a great class. I decided I opted out of, I was going to join it, but it's about 5 hours a day for 3 days. And I wanted to do more for you guys, really honestly, than to spend that time learning how to be able to really basically do what I'm doing here and have AI do it. I like this real time that we're spending together. And I don't want to trade in this very human element of our time together right now for this, because there's something that me as a human can give you, even when I'm talking mostly extemporaneously like I am now. And yeah, some of it's cuckoo and crazy, just like me saying some of it's cuckoo and crazy. But, some of it is deeply insightful that AI just can't do. And the reason why I've chosen to do about 15 to 20-minute segments every single day that I then pull at least one, if not several, little 10 to 60-ish second clips out of is because I want you to understand. I want you to see the work and the effort. I've been pretty honest with you. Back in whatever it was, April or May, when I started doing these lives again, the day before that, I quit my business. I was done. I was just so frustrated. And over the course of this, if you watched every one of them, I'm not saying you should. Some of them went really long. But if you watched every single one of them, you would have seen me dealing with stuff in my own life and in my own business and working my way through it. And you've seen me go way away from books and not talking about them at all, and talking about and I'm not saying that the primary element of what I still teach is the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, connection. But it took me going all the way around all of that and talking deeply with you and talking it out in my ears, hearing it, to be able to get back to understand, yes, the place that I can serve in your life is to help you at this starting point, at this untrained spot, at this place where you've been lied to, in this world where, and don't get me wrong, AI can do a lot of really cool things, but you still need to be you. And in the world where people are worried that AI is going to replace them when it never, ever can, to show you how to be visible and valuable. And that absolutely does start with your book. But where I know the real gap, where the completely missing spot is, there are some people, and if you have a book, you'll get, hit up on people who, want to do video trailers that are, probably them spending, the whatever fee it is, let's say $150 is the top. 200, I think, is the top tier that I can think of for Gemini, for VO3. And they're spending, let's say an hour developing the script and another hour having, VO create each of the clips, and then, another hour in post-production. Maybe they are spending 3 hours. And if a person's spending 3 hours and they're charging you 50 to $100, it's a pretty good deal, really. But is that going to get you any visibility? Really? Sure, you can put it on your social media, you can put it on your YouTube, you can put it on your books page, and your book having a trailer on its page is massively powerful. But what's it going to do for you? How are you going to get people to still see it? If nobody goes to your YouTube, nobody goes to your Amazon page, if you don't have people going to your book and learning more about you, you see visibility, clearly, consistently connecting. That's the formula for visibility. It's not that you're pitching the wrong thing, and it's not that your price is too high. In fact, your price, in almost every case I've ever dealt with, everybody's price is too low. You should take your price, take the most you can possibly imagine charging for that, and then double it. And then if that makes you squeak, add a zero. I'm serious. So let's say that, and I'll use small numbers so I don't blow your brains and have you be like at $20 million for your product, okay? But let's say that, you're comfortable selling your thing for $100, okay? All right, and that's the most you can imagine. You really are thinking you're probably going to sell it more for like $49. But, you're going to push yourself and say, okay, the most I can think of selling it for is $100. Okay, double that. That's $200,000. That's $200. Now add a zero. That means that thing that you think you should sell for, and you're probably going to sell for $49, you probably really should be selling for $2,000. In almost every case, that's usually true. And it's just a matter of belief. From there, it's just a matter of building trust with people. We buy from people, not that are massively powerful, wonderful, incredible, talky salespeople. We buy from people that we know, like, and trust. Your book is the beginning of you building trust. Your book is the thing that allows you to build relationship with the person. I'm in a space these days where I pretty much suggest to myself, and I have others in my books that are still at $2.99. $2.99 is still probably just as far as right price for an ebook, is probably still the right price. I'm suggesting to most of the people that they drop their price to 99 cents to all but basically give your book away for free, and to use all 5 of the free days and do all those kind of things. And there are other ad promotions that I have that are going to cost you, versus costing you thousands of dollars. We're talking costing you like a couple $100s that are ad spend, visibility spends, so that your book goes out into communities and people get your books and people start reading your books. You see, when you move to the place where you've gotten enough people that you probably have paid those people to read your books. Okay, now I'm not talking about paying for their review. Okay, you may pay a service like mine to go out and find for you people that will read and review your book, but not that we're paying them for the review. You're paying us for our time to do that work for you. That's how real human visibility reviews work. It's real people that are really willing, and they really read the book, and they really purchase the book on their thing and all of that. The rest of it's just paying for our time. We just have created packages that can do massive amount of things for you for hundreds and for thousands of dollars, versus tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to get you visible. I know I teased you about a lot of stuff today, didn't I? But I do hope that you'll DM or comment Amplify Review. It's your time to be amplified. Remember this word: amplify, 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 and then post it. Post the word amplify in the comments. Send me a DM. Say amplify. I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get on a free phone call with you, and I'm going to give you some suggestions of things that you probably should do for your book. Some of them you can do yourself. And then I'm also going to offer you and invite you, if we connect, to let me come in and do some of the heavy lifting of beginning to get your visibility taken care of for you. Get your SEO properly. Get people that will read and review your book. Get you in communities where you're going to, pay people to go, say, here's my book. Okay. You could do the same thing. You could build over the course of the next year to 5 years. You could build hundreds of thousands or, millions of followers across all the different communities we already have connections into, and go into those communities and say, I'd like to give you for free my book if you will please read it. You can do that same thing. And then, it's your time versus your money. That's the truth behind the curtain. And then, yes, eventually you build that following, and you build it and you build it and you build it and you build it. And it gets bigger and bigger. And eventually you get to the place where you don't have to pay for my service anymore. Your next book comes out and people are already clamoring for it. You have a follower base. When Terry Brooks brings out a new book, but he's been doing this since 1976. He worked full time for another almost decade as a lawyer and wrote the books in his spare time and weekends and all that kind of stuff. That's why there's like a 3 or 5 year gap, maybe more than that, between the first Shannara book and the second, Sword of Shannara and Elfstones of Shannara, because he's working a full-time job. Everything was time versus money. Now, when Terry Brooks drops his latest book, I just got a notification that there's a new book. He's going back to Shannara again. I'm excited about that. And for those of you who don't know who Terry Brooks is, I apologize. He's one of my favorites. The only person that would outdo him is C.S. Lewis, but C.S. Lewis no longer is with us, so he's not going to be writing any more books. It's all about, and he has that following. If Terry goes to a bookstore and the bookstore announces that Terry Brooks is going to be there and he's going to, read excerpts from his new book or the book that's going to be coming out in a month, and you can pre-order them here from our bookstore, Terry's going to fill the bookstore with as many people as they can fit in there because he's got the following, especially when you talk about cities like Portland and Seattle, because he's from there. He's spent the last 50 years, 40 years, I guess it'd be, in the Pacific Northwest, going and doing free book readings in bookstores, getting and building that following. That's what it's all about. Sorry, I went a little long there at the end. I want you to understand. Once trust is there, everything else becomes easy. You got to build that following. We've got systems in place to help you do that. DM or comment the word AMPLIFY. And let's get you seen, get you visible and valuable, and making the impact that you're meant to make in this world. Let's do it today. We'll be together again tomorrow. We're going to actually look at some case studies and show you how authors are jumping from totally unknown to being on the bestseller list, even sometimes being number one. We're going to, just peel back the curtain and show you. And I hope you'll join us tomorrow. And I hope that you're happy, safe, and even though it's cold, warm, and loved. Until we're together again next time, I hope you have a great week.